Good evening. Thank you for joining us on FSU Weather. I'm Daniel McFarland.
I'm Casey Cloud. It was a interesting weather day across the area. We had quite a range of weather in terms of fog early on, and then can kind of overcast and then even clearing out.
That's right. I know when I ran into Casey earlier on campus, it was just kind of cloudy, kind of foggy too this morning, wasn't it? And then as we moved on, the fog kind of moved out and rain started coming in.
That's right. We're seeing that rain kind of move across the area. Some areas got quite a bit more than others. Some areas approaching 1/4 to 1/2 inch. But the latest measurement at Tallahassee Regional Airport was only a trace. Just kind of depends exactly where you are if you get how much rain. And then the areas to the south and east, they're expected to get a little bit of rain as we get over the next couple hours down to McCullough and Taylor County.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. We didn't get that much, but behind us, people were getting just rained on constantly. I know when I was on my way over here, I heard thunder strikes too.
Yeah, you could hear some of those rumbles of thunders around the area, rumbles of thunder. You could kind of hear those around, some lightning not too far away here from the metro area.
That's right, and well, thankfully, it should be moving out, and tomorrow should be a lot nicer too, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it's going to clear out, get nicer across the area. It should be a pretty nice day here across our area. As we get into Tuesday, it'll start cooling off just a little bit, but relatively nice conditions as we get into most of the rest of the week.
Yep, for a quick overview on everything, we're sending out to Coral for just look at everything.
Thanks, guys. Now, you mentioned it's going to be cold later, but look at our high today, 70 degrees. 49 was our low. We were seeing a bit of patchy fog outside, but, that's all over and done with. And, of course, let's take a look at a glimpse ahead. We have storms moving in tonight, but that should be over by around 10 p.m. You might hear a bit of roar thunder between the next couple of hours, but that should clear out pretty quickly. And, of course, tomorrow's going to be bright and sunny, but stay tuned for the cold. Expect a very chilly weekend this weekend. We'll have more on that with the FSU Weather Show as we continue throughout the forecast. And, of course, here's the satellite and radar. There's that rain we saw this morning. And, of course, there's that storm band we see right here in Tallahassee. That'll be passing right through right about now and clear out in the next couple of minutes or so. So stay tuned for that. And, of course, if you're headed out tonight, make sure you grab the jacket because 43 degrees is what we're seeing right now, or we're expecting tonight. And, of course, make sure you have your umbrella handy. It's going to be rainy, and it's going to be a very uncomfortable feeling, and it's going to be chilly. So with that, I'm going to send it back to the desk and make sure they have their next story for you guys.
Thank you so much, Coral. We're getting to weather history right now, and it's kind of appropriate for today because, we had the storms moving through. Not too much going on, but we did have something going on with tornadoes not too long ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we're talking about some severe thunderstorms back on February 8, 1971. Now, we don't have a weather show over the weekend, so we kind of just wanted to catch you up on some weather history locally. And on that day in western Brooks County, that's in our viewing area, not too far away from Quitman, Georgia, there were some trailers and roofs damaged by a tornado early in the morning.
Do you know exactly what size it was? Was it like an EF0, EF1? It sounds like it had to be at least a 1 to cause that kind of damage, correct?
Right, pretty low range in terms of that. There was another tornado that was a little bit stronger, in fact, that does touch down to the north in Cook County, Georgia. This is just outside of our viewing area, not too far from Adow, Georgia. It damaged several homes and demolished some farm buildings, a little bit stronger in terms of that situation.
Yeah, so it was a whole line of storms that came on through then, I guess, right? Okay, well, for right now, we're going to take a look at home today with Brandon.
Thanks, guys. Pretty fair conditions right now. 61 degrees, mostly cloudy. Rain's dying down at the moment. Really, we didn't see much of anything. The storms kind of died out on the west side of town before they really made its way into town. Now, you might hear a couple rumbles of thunder at the basketball game tonight. And so the umbrella might not be a bad idea, but for the most part, the rain should be over, as you can see here with the water vapor, with the dry air moving its way into our region. That's right behind the cold front that passed through, which is what brought us all of our rain today. And another look at all that rain. Most of what we got was this morning, and another line kind of came through this afternoon, and like I said, died out right before it got into town today. Now, breaking down the big picture in the southeast, cold front moves through off the east coast today. A lot more rain to our south. Our friends in Tampa got over 1.25 inches today, and the low pressure system keeps digging its way southeastward, and it's going to work its way up to the northeast and bring even more snow to the northeast. But exact opposite here. We're nice and sunny. A little bit of a cool down. We hit 70 today, but I mean, that's not going to be in our future for a while. Very cold weather working its way in, not so much in the next few days, but over the weekend to come. So those clouds building up to the north are going to be that, or it's going to be that second front that works its way in. Models are calling for Friday right now. Now in the more short term, cold again tonight, 43, showers ending, pretty much over for the most part. Might still want to bring the umbrella tonight just to be safe, but for the most part, really really drying out. And the sun returns tomorrow. Great week to great week and great weekend also. Looking ahead, very clear and great conditions for us for the time being. You can really see that right here. Not even calling to hit get in the 60s come Friday, and mid 60s until then though, and very cold conditions. We have it listed as 30 for Friday, but I saw some models that went as low as 24 for Friday night into Saturday morning. So very cold air mass on its way in this weekend, and I mean that's really going to be the story for the time to come. Yeah, but like I said, clouds stick around for a couple days though, and very dry conditions prevail for the time being. Now let's go ahead and send it back to the desk though.
Axel, we'll go ahead and take a look at your southeast, and as we do so, we see 61 degrees here across our area in toward Tallahassee. We see the situation very clearly, in fact. Also 61 down toward Orlando as well. Interesting conditions indeed in terms of being the same temperature between Tallahassee and Orlando. Now, Miami, Key West a little bit warmer. We can see some very cool weather up toward Tupelo, though, only 43 degrees. Now, big temperature change has occurred, though. Over the last 24 hours, we can see 10 degrees below what we've seen 24 hours ago in Tallahassee this time yesterday. Actually, I think that's 10 degrees above, but we'll get into some of those details. You can kind of see that some of these colors are a little bit off on the graphic, but you get the general idea. 23 degrees below what we've seen 24 hours ago into Tupelo, a sign of some cooler air to come. Now, going ahead and kind of getting that closer look toward the radar imagery here and toward the southeast, we see some rainfall moving over this peninsula of Florida. We'll type and go in a little bit closer into that in just a little bit, but we see in toward southeast Georgia some rain extending from North Carolina as well in toward some of those areas not too far away from Brunswick, Georgia, Waycross as well, getting into some of those rain showers, even some rumbles of thunder. Closer look at this, we see down toward Tampa, some of the worst of the thunderstorm activity moving there, now starting to move a little bit closer toward Lakeland, Orlando, getting toward the east and south, Melbourne, getting to some of that shower and thunderstorm activity. We're watching that closely here across the area. Now, rainfall since midnight, this is kind of interesting. We've seen a trace of rain in Tallahassee at the regional report, but some of our other areas have seen more toward our west and north, some areas picking up more. This kind of shows you the isolated nature of the thunderstorms and thunder showers we've seen across our area this afternoon. We see, though, down toward Orlando, they got 2/3 of an inch of rain since midnight. Key West, 1/3 of an inch of rain in toward those areas. Now, your forecast for tonight, that we see 43 degrees here in the metro area, up toward the north and west core conditions, 37 in Montgomery, 29 in Tupelo. We see those core conditions kind of approaching, and we will be seeing core temperatures. We've been seeing over the last couple of days a bit of spring kind of going away for now here across our area and turning back more into winter across our viewing circle. Now, going ahead and looking at tomorrow, 64 degrees here, 55 in Atlanta, and then in terms of the forecast on tomorrow night, cool temperatures to the north and to the west as well. We're talking about areas near Tupelo, in fact, 32 degrees in toward those areas. But now let's kind of transition a little bit here in toward some weather history.
Yeah, well, actually, we covered that, so now we're going to talk about hail. I mean, did we have any hail? I mean, I know we're about to talk about it, but did we have any pass through?
Yeah, we did, in fact, in toward areas like Bonifay, Florida, also Geneva, Alabama, and Dothan, Alabama. A little bit closer to home, though, Cairo, Georgia, they had some hail reports, but again, none of these were of the severe criteria, so that's some good news, but still, hail is rare. Now, Daniel, let's kind of explain how that forms.
Yeah, I mean, you get these water droplets that, and thunderstorm updrafts, which is when these water droplets inside that, the tall cloud, that all the water comes up there and it freezes and then it falls and more sticks to it, and that causes hail because those frozen drops of water fall on down. But for right now, we're going to go on out with Ian for a broader look at national.
Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, we've have an interesting setup right now for most of the country. Really, we're all looking at a large trough across the span of the country. You can see it dipping all the way down here, that temperature difference. So you have the warmer temperatures down in the south and much of the west, but those colder temperatures up in the north, as they're seeing a fair amount of moisture with the snow up in the northeast. You see Boston is continuing to get slammed with snow. As we look at the temperatures around, Phoenix is 82 degrees in the north, in the southwest, very warm, and you have 82 in San Antonio compared to 25 up in Detroit. So there's a large temperature difference between that of the northeast and that of the rest of the country for right now. As you look at the 24-hour temperature change, some areas, and especially in the Midwest, saw a large temperature difference from 24 hours ago today at this time. So Kansas City saw a 19-degree difference, whereas Memphis saw 21, where here we pretty much saw the same. We had a warm sky and warm atmosphere building for us in Florida, but for the rest of the country, they have that system moving across the east that has brought colder temperatures and a lot more cloud cover at that. They saw a lot of sun in the west or eastern part of the country. And as in the western side, you see things are rather status quo, same there for them. And as we look at the radar, we have a cold front associated with a low, or a rather low here that is moving. You can see a circulation off of the Carolinas. That is continuing to push off towards the east. Much of Florida saw a good amount of rain today, some upwards over an inch. And as you look up into Boston in the northeast, they're continuing to see snow. So this is a theme for today and the rest of the night for them. Boston will unfortunately not be seeing the end of snow, as another system will be making its way across the northeast as we move on. So as we look on into the rest of the country, you can see the southeast itself has a fair amount of rain. Tampa saw over an inch and a half of rainfall over the day. You can see the low built across the Carolinas. And as you look up into the northeast, you can see they are starting to see a good amount of snow. So unfortunately, this won't be ending anytime soon for them, as they are dealing with continuous snowfall over this winter. It's been a very, very moist winter for them at that. And as you look in for the airport delays, right now, not looking so bad. New York had a 67-minute delay earlier, but that has since cleared up as the snowfall has pushed out. But most of the country is dealing with fantastic conditions for flying, so it's great for traveling. Tonight's forecast is cold for much of the northeast. You have 11 degrees in Detroit, 19 up in Minneapolis, but the rest of the country is rather mild. It's not too bad. We have 37 in Denver, so I don't think they're really complaining about that. And back home here in Tallahassee, we have 43 degrees, so cool for us, but rather on the warmer side for Denver. But as we look into tomorrow's forecast, temperatures will be warm once again for much of the southeast, and you will see those temperatures starting to really bring themselves back up with so much sun in the area. But as we look on into tomorrow's forecast, you see the north is going to be seeing a good amount of snow there. And we're going to send it off to Daniel with more.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We're going to go ahead and jump on in to local. First, we're going to take a look at our weather headlines. You see we have this rain going on right now. Those should be over by about 10 p.m. tonight. We have a sunny start tomorrow, which is really nice. Those temperatures won't be too cold, but we'll still see about mid-60s as a high, probably in the upper 50s for most of the day. And go ahead and move on to current temperatures. Right now we're sitting at 61 degrees, but it is raining and cold out there, so it might feel a little bit lower than that because of the humidity. And you look all around, everyone else is sitting right about the same. You see 62 in Monticello, 63 in Thomasville, pretty much uniform all around our area. And after this is a really cool graphic. Take a look at this. I'm going to step off. You can see where the front is going to pass on through Monday night at 8. You see that quick change in the wind direction and wind speed right there. It's really nice. And so we know it'll pass on by, and by then we should know all the rain will be over after the wind shifts. Well, satellite and radar are looking pretty good. Like you've heard, the Tallahassee effect, all just kind of goes around us. Not a whole lot here, but everyone else seems to be getting big time rained on. And for lightning strikes, this one's a really cool graphic also. You see that it's slowly moving down, already past Tallahassee, but you heard it earlier when you probably headed home from work or back from school. You did hear some lightning strikes when you were coming back then. Here's a look at what's going to happen for the futurecast. The low pressure system is going to push on through by tonight. We should be all clear by Tuesday morning. Maybe some lingering clouds back here to our east, but as we move on, you'll see that we'll have nothing but sunshine come Tuesday and into Wednesday. See, sunny and beautiful, but the temperatures still will be in the mid-60s. We have a little bit of time there before we get into the 50s on Monday, unfortunately. This will keep on moving, and then we'll jump right in to our beach forecast, one of my favorites. you see that we have winds coming out of the north at 20 knots. Check this out, 5 to 7 foot surf tomorrow, occasionally 9 feet. That's fantastic, especially with the wind the way it is. It won't be too blown out. It'll be real nice. And also, make sure that if you do go out, it is very cold. Wear a wetsuit, hoodie, booties, gloves even. It's going to be that cold. You see the water temperature at 63 degrees. And make sure, but if you are paddling, that you do lean forward a little bit more because then the wind's really going to be blowing you back. And for tonight's forecast, low of 43, 50% chance of rain, but that's going to be before 10. And as we move on to tomorrow's forecast, high 64, pretty typical for this time of year. Same all around our area. And we're going to go ahead and take one last look at the 7-day forecast. You see our high tomorrow is going to be 64, pretty much the same for the next 3 days with some lingering clouds. But then you see the big drop-off on Friday, high of 52, unfortunately for us, and that low of 30. Not too pleasant in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of cold weather. But thankfully, you see on Sunday and Monday it starts creeping up again. But for right now, we're going to send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Daniel. And you know, we're seeing all that sunshine here, but you know where they could really use some rain right now is at the base of the Sierra Nevadas. They're fighting a wildfire there where they've had to evacuate 2 towns and over 250 homes.
Yeah, absolutely. They have seen very dry conditions, especially in the southern portion of California. Really all of California has seen very dry conditions. And this led to dangerous conditions, especially when those winds start to pick up. They saw this previous Friday 50 to 70 mile per hour winds that have pushed a fire into 2 towns in the Sierra Nevada area.
Yeah, and they evacuated residents because those winds knocked down power lines. And so there's widespread power lines that are still active. And so to keep the town residents safe, they told them to evacuate.
Absolutely, and it's the precaution they have to take with these situations. These are something that you don't take too lightly, especially this time of the year. But we are going to be sending it off to this off to Nikki at the wall.
Hi, I'm not Nikki, I'm Daniel, but still, we're going to go to me first. You see relative humidity, we can see where it's raining right now. I see Jacksonville's getting rained on right now. Starting to move out of Tallahassee at 90, and same thing with Tampa there. 24-hour temperature change, you can see we are getting rained on. You can see the temperature change in Tallahassee is -10. So we were 10 degrees warmer we were yesterday at this time than we were right now. You see Orlando and Jacksonville, big losers there at -12 and 13. For current temperatures right now, like I said earlier, for Tallahassee, we're sitting at 61. Jacksonville, 58. Pensacola, real nice at 72 for them. Looking to the south, we got Tampa and Fort Myers, both in the 60s. Miami at 74 and Key West at 74. Always big winners there, but Pensacola is catching up to them for those nice temperatures. For satellite and radar, you can see right where the front is moving through right here. You see it's going to push on, and by tonight, that should all be gone like I was talking about earlier. You see Tampa's getting some rain through Orlando right there also. That's also associated with the front. And Jacksonville's getting a little bit. And look down at the bottom, you see some storms coming up there also. So Miami should be getting rained on here pretty soon. And taking a quick look back into Tallahassee, those storms are starting to move out, so we'll be clearing up and be nice by then. Well, tonight's forecast, low of 43. You saw Pensacola is going to be at 72 right now. It's going to be down to 42 tonight. So unfortunately for them, they are in the blue, and we're only 1 degree warmer here in Tallahassee at 43. Looking down the state, though, you see 62 in Miami and 60 in West Palm Beach. Real typical for them also. Moving on to tomorrow's forecast, we're at 64 degrees here with some clouds. Jacksonville is pretty cloudy. Pensacola is all clear. We'll be expecting those clear conditions come over the next few days. A quick surf forecast for the next few days, though. In Sebastian's Inlet, they're going to be seeing 5 to 9 feet over the next couple days from Wednesday, even into the beginning of Friday. So if you want to go out early on Friday, that's still possible there too. And even further down south in the Boynton Beach, they will be getting some there also. And tomorrow's forecast, you see that tomorrow night's forecast, we're going to get even lower at 41, and Miami's going to be down to 54, but for right now, we're going to send it off to Casey.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a look, in fact, here at your winter weather situation across your area and across the nation, in fact, because there's really no wintry weather headed into our community. But you can see temperatures right now sitting at 61 in Tallahassee, 41 in Memphis, in fact. Much cooler conditions, though, wintry-like weather up toward areas like Detroit, 25 degrees, Boston, 19 degrees. But you can kind of see the contrast between winter and more like summer-like conditions. Phoenix sitting at 82 degrees right now, very warm, very nice conditions there. Now we do see cooler conditions up toward our north and west. Cooler conditions in 24 hours ago, in fact, up toward Memphis, we see 21 degrees cooler than yesterday at this time. Kansas City, 19 degrees cooler than this time as well. Now, so kind of cooling off, bringing in some nicer weather conditions, in fact, over the situation. Now, snow cover, this tells a story up toward areas like Boston, in fact. We're talking about the Northeast, pretty heavy snow cover on the ground from all the snow situations and snowfall events they've had over the last few weeks in toward Boston. In fact, Boston is sitting at one of their highest snowfall totals ever for a winter, in fact, approaching that top 10 and getting way above average in toward that area, in toward the Northeast. Now, we see closer look-wise of the Northeast. We're sitting just to the north of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. In fact, we see some heavy snow, or light to moderate snow at least, there, not too far from Scranton as well. Getting in up toward the north, we see areas around central New York getting into some snow. We're talking about areas near Syracuse, New York City, right on the edge of some mix of snow and ice a little bit earlier. Starting to get back into some of that snowfall again. Now, closer look at this also in towards southern Maine, Bangor, Augusta, Portland, getting into some light to moderate snow there as well. More snow that really you wouldn't expect to see this much, very much above average in toward these areas. Nothing like that around here, though. No snow expected for a long time anywhere in toward this part of the area. Now, we do see winter storm warning in effect here. Does include Hartford, Connecticut, up toward Boston as well. Getting in this a winter storm warning, which means winter storm conditions are occurring. Pretty heavy snowfall event in toward those areas. In fact, we're expecting another order of about 6 to 12 more inches, in fact, for Boston. Before all is said and done, we could get up towards of 18 inches of snow for the Boston metropolitan area. Now, your high temperatures for today, though, we do see they got very warm in toward Phoenix. Again, nothing like winter weather there. 82 degrees in toward that area. North central part of the country, 39 in Kansas City. Very cool conditions. 32 in Minneapolis, 57 in Memphis. This cooler air is a little bit of a sign of things to come, in fact, for our area. We've seen that rain around today across our Big Bend area. It's going from Tallahassee to Monticello, but we see that's really not too big of a factor here in toward our forecast as we get into the rest of the week. Nicer conditions, in fact, in store. Your wind chill currently we see very cool. Feels like temperature 16 in Detroit, 5 in Boston, and 29 in Washington, D.C. And in terms of that forecast for your temperatures, we do see those cooler conditions coming down from the north, in fact, in the water area. But right now, we'll go ahead and take it over for a more informational look at the weather situation in terms of winter weather with Ian and Coral.
Thanks, Casey. Yeah. Boston, I was talking about earlier in my segment that Boston has seen a large amount of snow, and this really has been the trend for them for the last 30 days.
Yes, they've seen 60.8 inches in the last 30 days. It's like one blizzard clears out and another one packs a 1-2 punch right back and buries it under another 2 feet. Absolutely. I feel bad for those road crew workers.
I really do, and they've had to do this a number of times, and this actually sets a record that's set back in 1978. That record was in the span of 17 days. This one was over a 30-day span, but still a large amount of snow, and there's more to come as they have another system moving through later this week.
Yeah, you know, this is the peak of winter, so even though we're out of the peak, we still have a couple more weeks to go with that. So stay tuned for the long haul, New England, because you're in it for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be dealing with some more, and those workers are going to continue to move those snows off the road. But we're going to send it off to Nikki now at the wall.
Thanks, guys, so much. And it was quite a gloomy day. We started off with all that fog. You woke up, walked out. It was like you were walking to a cloud, which, if you were still tired, didn't really help the situation because everything was just pretty gloomy, pretty gray outside. But we warmed up quite nicely to 70 degrees for our high. So it did warm up quite nicely. The low, still fairly high too, 49, not even breaking into that 50s. So it was quite decent outside today. Besides that gloomy weather in the morning, we wanted to bring in some sunshine back to the Big Bend towards the afternoon. Looking around the Big Bend, though, we can see we're sitting in the 60s right now for most of the area, 61 down in St. Mark's and also in the capital city. And off to my east, Perry sitting at 62 degrees, so pretty basic 60s for much of the area for this evening as you're sitting down for dinner. Satellite and radar, though, shows kind of the big picture. You can see this cold front that just passed It was a weak front. We'll start to see those repercussions tomorrow. Things will be cooling down just a tad bit. And then later on this week is when we're really expecting to see that drop in temperatures. We'll see some dry fronts pushing through, but we'll get to that in just 1 second. So there's the rain. You can see most of it in Tallahassee has cleared out. It'll be done by 10 p.m. tonight if you are going out for a night on the town. 10 p.m., the rain should be done. The raincoats can go back on the wall. But for most of the central Florida area, they'll be seeing the rain into the late evening hours. Zooming on in, you can see what I was talking about. That cold front is pushing on through. We'll start to see a little bit of a drying effect for most of the Tallahassee area, but Orlando, Tampa, Miami, still getting a lot of the rain for much of the evening hours tonight. We're going to go ahead and push on to the big story. This is what's telling us what's going on with this front that's pushing on through. This is the wet front that is bringing some cooler conditions for tomorrow. You can see much of the rain that was associated with today fell along the eastern seaboard. This guy will move right on into our area, start to bring in some cooler conditions. That low will move right off the east coast of the Carolinas, and that rain will push on off to the Atlantic Ocean, and we'll start to see some cooling. So we'll have some high clouds in the sky for tomorrow. Tuesday at 6 p.m., you can see things are starting to dry back out, and by Wednesday, looking pretty nice. We'll see the sun come on back out, things will be drying, and tonight's forecast will be just as nice as well. So 40s for much of the area tonight. Storms ending around 10 p.m. Like I said, 50% chance of rain if you are heading out right now. And our winds are going to be coming out of the southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tomorrow, though, a lovely start. We'll start to see that sun come right back up, so you won't be walking into a cloud like we saw today. The precip, once again, 0%. So no rain for tomorrow. Northwesterly winds at 10 miles per hour. And 7-day forecast looks great as well. We see that sun coming right back into the picture for the rest of the work week. This weekend looking quite nice, but our cold days are going to be Friday and Sunday. We'll be having a low temperature around freezing. So it's going to be pretty cold this weekend. So if you have some plans to go outside, make sure you bundle up for sure. And it will be a nice one if you are going outside to enjoy the nature and the sun and the beautiful conditions that might happen this weekend. So looking pretty nice, going to be kind of cold. What do you guys think about that at the desk?
You know, I'm not too grateful for the cold, but you know, at least we have some good news tonight. We have that game against Duke for the basketball game.
Absolutely. Probably FSU's biggest basketball game so far this season, and a big, huge step for them if they can pull off this win against number 4 ranked Duke.
Yeah, and that tip-off is at 7 at the Civic Center, so make sure y'all go check them out. They're doing quite well, so hey, let's go support our Knowles out there.
Yeah, so bring your rain jackets for sure.
Yes, we still have that rain chance lingering, and so it wouldn't hurt to bring your rain jacket or at least a light umbrella. That way you don't get wet. It's going to be a little chilly, so you don't want to add the wet and cold together.
Yeah, you don't, but after tonight, you really don't have any rainfall to worry about for the next 7 days, really.
No, it's sunny and clear for the most part, which is nice because it'll keep us from getting too low.
Yeah, those temperatures are going to get a little bit low, especially on the weekend, but for much of the week, it should be a pretty great weather. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. You know, like, as long as it stays like in the early evening and late at night, I'm good. But of course, you can always like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Or if you want to watch us again, you can watch us on livestream.com/FSU Weather.
And you know, we always love to hear from you, so make sure you send us all your photos or what you're doing. We love hearing about IM sports and stuff, so we'd love to hear from you guys. And of course, you can always, you know, find us here at 6:30 every day. And of course, we'll send it out.
See you on Tuesday.
Have a great one, everybody.